Human muscle mass begins a steady retreat around age 30, disappearing at a rate of 3 to 5% per decade. By age 60, this decline speeds up. For many, the result is a body that by age 80 has lost half its strength. Inside the tissue, the biological architecture is physically changing. Healthy muscle fibers are shrinking in both size and number. As they vanish, the body fills the gaps with a rigid, fibrous tissue, a material that occupies space but possesses zero ability to generate force. This state is clinically defined as sarcopenia. It is the physiological root of frailty, and the reason why simple tasks, like rising from a chair or carrying groceries, become significant hurdles for many older adults. While these changes correlate with age, they are driven by a specific, identifiable failure in how the body maintains its own structure. Identifying that failure is the first step towards stopping it. The primary driver of this decline is a phenomenon known as anabolic resistance. In a younger body, muscle cells are highly sensitive to protein and exercise. But as we age, disappearing motor nerves and lower hormone levels make these cells less responsive. The biological signals that normally trigger repair simply fail to register at the cellular level. This resistance renders standard health advice for seniors ineffective. A light walk or a small portion of protein doesn't provide a loud hum the cell's internal deafness. To maintain muscle mass as the body ages, we must find the specific biological volume required to force the cellular repair system to react. The body manages muscle growth through a pathway called mTOR. Its job is to sense when the environment contains enough nutrients to justify building new tissue. The specific trigger for this pathway is an amino acid called leucine. It is found in high-quality sources like eggs, dairy, and lean meat. When leucine concentrations in the blood reach a specific point, the mTOR pathway initiates muscle protein synthesis. Standard guidelines suggest 0.8 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight daily. However, for an older adult with anabolic resistance, this low concentration is too quiet. The cell's sensors aren't sensitive enough to detect this level of intake, so the growth signal never starts. To overcome that resistance, the cell must be saturated. This requires roughly 0.4 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight in a single meal, about 30 grams of protein for the average adult. At this volume, the concentration of leucine in the blood finally reaches the level needed to penetrate the cell's resistance and initiate repair. Most dietary recommendations are designed only to prevent deficiency. They are too low to maintain functional muscle mass in a body that is actively resisting growth. Because muscle tissue is in a constant state of turnover, reaching this signaling threshold once a day is not enough to keep the body in a state of repair. Consider the typical eating pattern for many adults: a low-protein breakfast and a heavy dinner. On this chart, the dotted line represents the anabolic threshold. While dinner spikes well above the line, breakfast and lunch fall far below it. During those hours where protein intake sits under the line, the body loses ground. It breaks down muscle for energy because it hasn't received a signal to build. The excess protein from a large dinner cannot be saved for the next morning. It is either burned as fuel or stored as fat. To keep the body out of a state of breakdown, the 30-gram protein target must be hit at every meal: breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Even with perfect nutrition, the body still requires a second physical signal to begin the work. Disuse is a primary driver of tissue loss. Without physical stress, the body has no incentive to maintain expensive muscle tissue. It will prioritize breaking that tissue down unless it receives a clear message that the muscle is necessary for survival. Resistance training, whether through weights, bands, or body weight, creates that mechanical tension. This stress signals the muscle fibers that they must adapt to a higher workload. Protein provides the raw amino acids required to rebuild the body, but resistance training provides the physical instruction for where those materials must be used. By combining mechanical stress with targeted protein intake, we create a powerful interaction that bypasses age-related decline. Resistance training first increases the sensitivity of the muscle fibers. When followed by a meal that crosses the anabolic threshold, the high concentration of amino acids hits those sensitized cells, successfully triggering the repair process that is normally blocked in older adults. This strategy preserves the bone density and metabolic health needed to maintain independence. It determines whether an individual remains mobile and capable into their 80s or falls into a cycle of frailty and injury. The aging body has not lost its ability to rebuild. It simply requires a louder, more precise signal to start the process. Crossing the anabolic threshold provides that signal.